Hey guys, what's up? In this lesson, we're going to be talking about planes. The planes in an image are really important because they determine the depth of it. Generally speaking, when we talk about the planes, we can find the first plane, the second plane, and the third plane. More or less as a general rule. There can be more planes, there could even be less. But to make sure a scene really has depth, we're going to need at least 3. This triangle right here that I'm marking in black would be our first plane. As you can see, I've marked it in a darker color. Normally, you would see it through backlighting from the sun's natural light. This is an outdoor space. In indoor spaces, the illumination would change. Obviously, right? I'm going to mark this tree here as the second plane. As a third plane, we can see the mountains in the back. The further back we go from the first plane, the clearer we're going to see the images. We're going to see them even more clear when the image kind of fades into the background. This will depend greatly on the illumination of the actual scene. Keep in mind that when you make your scene illustrations, you're going to need plane and illumination shifts to give your scene real depths. Now, I'm going to draw out a few examples so you can see how the planes work in a sketch of a scene. Here, for example, I'll draw the horizon line, and I'm starting to draw some bushes in the first plane. You don't always have to use first planes in which you're getting closer to the image, okay? I like to do it because it's a way of putting the viewer in the scene. It's like positioning them. However, we can have much more open spaces in which we don't have like a super first plane, okay? Now, in the other corner at the top, I'm going to draw another bush. Also in a first plane. It's a question of composition. If you look closely, there's a main element in the first plane, big to the left, and one smaller to the right. Remember the composition rules? I'm referring to them right now. It's called a callback, guys. At the back of the scene, I'm going to draw a series of architectonic things in the last plane. I'll generate a second plane further on. Don't worry about it. Remember that you can use as many planes as you want, but I'm going to center around the 3 main ones that I've talked about before. We have a plane at the back, the first plane, and now I'm going to continue on to the second plane. It's going to be a character, okay? A person. I'm going to draw it quickly. It doesn't need to be a perfect figure. You just have to understand the level of plane. So don't start criticizing, okay? If you remember that with the first planes, I generated a gap where an important element could go, and that our eye would follow to. In this important element, we're going to draw the character. Seeing as it has backlighting, in the same we did in the beginning, I'm going to give the character a little bit of shadow. Okay, he's getting cold. The scene has been done in a very quick, exemplary way. But you can see we have finally a first plane, a second plane, that would be the character, and a third plane, that would be the background. Now I'm going to draw the second example. So now you can see the difference in planes inside other views. Even though I didn't draw very well-defined shapes, it doesn't matter because I want to show you what the differences in planes are and more or less use your intuition to see how the image works. Here we have a first plane located as if it were a type of rock or building. But maybe I'm not interested in having a first plane, but I want the first plane in front. So I get that feeling of depth in the image. So I'm going to draw this next square a lot darker to determine the difference in planes. Alright, okay guys, very good. So now I'm just going to continue with the horizon and perspective lines to generate the rest of our drawing. I'm going to make this little path that will cross in diagonal, and at the back I'm going to draw some buildings. I'll make them box shaped. I don't need to give them a lot of details, but they would be on our second plane. In theory, it would be the second plane, but it's actually in the third. But we're always talking in terms of first, second, and third, okay? So don't worry about it. Our furthest plane would be the mountains in the back. And we have, even further away, we have the sky. Look at how many planes we can have. It's crazy, right, guys? Even though you can't fully understand everything I've just drawn, we can understand the planes between the elements. We have a first plane in black, a second plane in gray, and a third plane in a lighter gray, and a fourth that will be the mountains at the back. We could even talk of a fifth plane if we want to point out the sky. Great, now you understand the dynamics of planes, and now you can establish them in your illustration. In the next video, we're going to learn about perspective, and once we understand perspective, we can start with our drawing. I hope you really like this video, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. See you guys later!